Hey guys, Skyrionn here, Happy New Year! I'm hoping that we get some new information on Fable this year, and so I thought I'd throw my opinion out there on what I'd like to see in the new Fable. I'm not one for big intros, so here we go. Number 1. Childhood. One thing I loved about Fable and Fable 2 was that you were able to make your own choices right from the character's beginning. A memorable quest that stands out from Fable's childhood was finding the cheating couple behind the house in Oakvale and deciding whether or not to tell the cheating man's wife where he was. Turns out, you can collect a good piece from him to stay quiet and still tell his wife and gain the gold piece for the good deed. In Fable 2, we had the option to help the man kill the beetles or destroy the stock in his warehouse. We got to decide what kind of character we wanted to be before properly starting this game. It's a shame that we didn't get this in Fable 3. This leads us on to number 2, choice and consequence. When making bad decisions in the childhood of Fable 2, it changed whether you got the good Bowston Old Town or the bad Bowston Old Town. This changed simply by choosing who you gave the missing warrants to. For me, choice and consequence were a huge factor for the Fable experience, actually thinking about whether to be good or bad because there would be consequences. Choosing to protect Oakfield in Fable 2 allowed you to come back to a bountiful village, while attacking it led to returning to a dark Hollowman infested town after completing the spire. I want the choices to mean something, a small choice having huge consequences. Number 3. Religion. Avo and Scorm were amazing deities in Fable. Although created by a trader years before, the villagers of Albion believed them to be real. Donating to each temple gave you good or bad points, and it was a system I bought into. Named gods seemed to help me gravitate towards them more. In Fable 2, we got the Temple of Light and the Temple of Shadows. By Fable 3, without researching, I wouldn't be able to tell you who the gods were. Armour and weapons dedicated to their gods was also a good feature. Scorm's bow was truly overpowered, but it got the job done. Number 4. Combat. The combat system in each game changed slightly for each iteration. In my opinion, the combat in the first Fable was perfect. Although the magic may have been a tiny bit overpowered, I remember from my first playthrough thinking, this is incredible. The concept of charging up spells in Fable 2 and 3 and introducing guns and weapons that morphed I guess was Lionhead's way of updating the system, but I just preferred the original setup, sword, bow and spell. Simple but good. With the way that trends tend to go, The Witcher and Dragon Age are other huge fantasy games. Although I love both games, I wouldn't like to see their styles implemented into a Fable game. I like the simplicity. From the teaser, we can see it's possibly set before any revolution, so we may get the simple sword, bow and magic setup. Within the combat topic, I would also like to see the resurrection file feature come back. You have lives, but after they're gone, so are you, and you have to reload the save. Number 5. New creatures. Throughout the series, the creatures have been staples in the Fable franchise. Hobbs and Balverines are the first ones I think of when it comes to Fable. I know this may be a complete reboot, but bringing back or even reimagining some of the well-known monsters really would help bridge that gap between Lionhead and Playground's Fable. We already know we may be getting new creatures. We saw a fairy in the teaser trailer, something that we haven't seen before. The closest we've had to a fairy are the nymphs in the first Fable. I'd like to see those too, as they were responsible for the creation of Hobbs. Number 6. Rich lore. The lore surrounding the original series was incredible. I've built a YouTube channel mostly around it. The origins of species, how the world came to be. The best thing about this was that Lionhead didn't hold your hand and throw the information at you. You actually had to go into the world and read the books, talk to the people, and use items in the world to discover more. A huge part of what makes Fable one of my favourite series is that factor of rich lore, and out of everything on this list, I hope rich lore is one of the things they incorporate. Number 7. A worthy rival. Okay, so we all remember Whisper. Some would say she was a rival, some would say that she was that annoying person that popped up every now and then in the story. One thing was for sure, you didn't forget who she was. Even when it came down to deciding whether she lived or died in the arena, at least on my first playthrough, it took me some time to figure out what I wanted to do. For the new Fable, I'd like at least one of these characters where you become emotionally invested, even if that emotion is pure dislike for the girl that called you farm boy after your farming village burned to the ground and your family are presumed dead. Number 8. More heroes. When you think about it, the first installation in Fable didn't have that many heroes. You had Whisper, Thunder, Maze. Bryrose and the Guildmaster that you would talk to fairly regularly, and in the later iterations, you had less and less heroes to talk to. The first Fable made up for this because the lore and character development was done pretty well, but in Fable 2 and Fable 3, I massively noticed a lack in heroes. Number 9. Third person only. This may be a picky one, and feel free to disagree with me in the comments, but I like the fact that you could see your character throughout the adventure. First person works well for games like Halo, Bioshock, Half-Life and the Elder Scrolls series, but for me, third person view just makes sense with Fable. As a famous man once said, it just works. Number 10. Character customization and story. The best part about Lionhead's Fable was the fact that after you had been introduced to your character, you didn't have to immediately go off onto an adventure. You could freely complete side quests, earn money, or do something completely random like spend hours attempting to find a husband or a wife with a specific name. The freedom to do so was perfect. On top of this, you were just simply given a character and then worked with what you were given. Buy them clothes, give them an odd haircut. I think this one is split because people now like customization. Cyberpunk is a great example of how you can basically adjust anything. I like the simplicity of being given a character. Give us the ability to change the basics like skin tone, eye colour and hair colour, but after that, you work with what you have. And with that third person camera, you can always admire your monstrosity as you change your look. Number 11. Memorable locations. When I think about Fable, I instantly think about the locations. Oakvale and Bowerstone are up there in my favourite locations in a game world, just because they were done so well. I remember the moment where I visited Wraith Marsh for the first time and saw what had happened to Oakvale, and I felt genuine sadness. I'm not saying that Playground have to recreate these locations, but I wouldn't be mad if they did. But there was something about them that felt magical and Fable-esque. I'm sure there are different locations for you guys. Bower Lake, Snowspire, Morningwood. Each location felt unique and special to that part of the world. Number 12. Villager interaction. Within some of these locations, the villagers actually interacted with your characters as you ran past. This made the world feel more alive. Even if the villagers were praising your quest or insulting you, there was still interaction. Maybe you'd marry somebody that was nice to you, or kill someone that insulted you. These small features invoked a reaction from the player. I used to always be nice to the villagers, even if they insulted me. Number 13. Silly British humour. Continuing on from being insulted, a huge staple of the Fable franchise was that silly British humour. You literally got called a chicken chaser for doing nothing. What is a chicken chaser? Another one. Are you gonna stand there like a lemon? Do I know what that meant? No. Did it make me want to hit that character instead of hitting the grates? Yes. These silly insults again made me want to interact with a world that was well made. It does look like we'll be getting this humour with the fairy being eaten by the bullfrog in the teaser, although that split people, as some thought it was funny and some thought it was mean. On the topic of silly humour, nicknames need to stay. In what other game can a random non-player character shout at you and call you arseface? Number 14. Demon Doors. Along with the creatures and locations of Albion, the Demon Doors push that boundary of mystery in the Fable world. You could literally travel to a different realm within the game created by the ancients of the Old Kingdom, a slight connection to old lore. I'd like to see these revisited even if they're not called Demon Doors. Maybe each realm could be a relic of a Lionhead's Fable location, and you maybe get to explore it. Stepping through a door, you could find yourself in Necropolis, the Witchwood Arena, Barrowfields. Maybe the Demon Doors could be bigger. There are so many ways that a new studio could play with this feature, and I really hope to see it implemented. Even the acts that you have to commit to enter a demon door were interesting. The weirdest being the Darkwood Bordello demon door. You know the one. Number 15. Memorable and unique side quests. On the topic of weird, Beardy Baldy, Gargoyles and the game were extremely unique and memorable side quests. The quests weren't simply generic, oh take this to that person and come back to me, and we'll ignore the relationship quests in Fable 3, but the quests were interactive and made you actually think about what you were doing. Beardy Baldy in Fable 1's Bowerstone literally makes you look like a fool to laugh at you. That's the kind of uniqueness I'd like to see. In Fable 3, the game shrunk you down into a Dungeons and Dragons like game where you got to listen to the soundtrack of the older games, and there were even hints about how bad the final boss of Fable 2 was. A game studio joking about features that just didn't work in their previous game. It was good. Number 16. Soundtrack. You all probably knew this one was coming up. Fable or any fantasy RPG is nothing without a soundtrack. Russell Shaw did an incredible job. Can you imagine Bowston Old Town with different music? The Demon Door Realms, Oakfield, Oakvale or Reaver's Mansion with a different feeling to what Russell created. If Russell doesn't come back, then the new composer has some huge shoes to fill. Number 17. Story is key. Above anything, the story needs to be right. I'd rather have a good, immersive story to play through than see distractions that try to make up for a bad story. With the channel, I cover games because they have such an amazing story. The Bioshock series, incredible. Half-Life and Portal universe, incredible. Fable and Fable 2 had a great story. Fable 3 could have done with a bit longer to be made. And even The Journey had a great backstory for Teresa and the Spire. I'm hopeful for a story as a hero. Maybe we'll see the Heroes Guild and other heroes. Maybe there won't be a guild. I hope there's a guild. As long as the story is well told, I'll be happy. Number 18. History of Fable. Now this one is a little out there, but the foundation is already pretty good for the Fable franchise. We don't know if this is going to be a complete reboot, or if Playground are going to work off some of the Lionhead's Fable, but if they did have mentions to events from a previous Fable game, that'd be amazing. Even if it's a brief message on a tombstone, here lies Jack, he liked blades, or here lies Whisper, she was really annoying. Little nods to a world we knew that would hit that nostalgia pretty well. Number 19. Optional co-op. I may be one of the few, but I loved the henchman mechanic in Fable 2 and Fable 3. It was so simple just to press start and jump into another world. The best part about this was that you could see how your friend's decisions had made a huge difference to their world state. Maybe you had decided not to give Barnum gold to upgrade Westcliff, but your friend had. Well, now you get to see what they had done. Not only that, but you could quest together and earn gold. It was a really good concept, and if there is a multiplayer feature, I hope that it's similar. Number 20. Chickens. I don't really have to say anything more. Fable needs chickens. Number 21. A world full of magic. Finally, whenever I've attempted to describe Fable to people, I've pushed the fantasy and magical elements of it. Along the original franchise's journey, the game seemed to lose that. Fable 1 was full of magic and fantasy. Fable 2 still had it, but Fable 3 had lost it for me. Luckily, from the teaser, we saw what seemed to be a magical mushroom forest with magical creatures. I really hope Playground stick to that as the progress of the game continues. These are just my opinions. If you agree with me, tell me why. If you disagree with me, tell me why. Let's start a conversation about the new Fable. From the community post, I've seen people want the court to come back. It'd be cool to see the Queen and Knight of Blades. I think it'd be amazing to see the journey of William Black. Maybe Playground will incorporate the Order lore, maybe they won't. I'm excited anyway. One thing they should never incorporate is that awful menu system from Fable 3. Tell me, what would you like to see in a new Fable? Thanks for watching my thoughts, and I hope to see you in the next lore video. I apologise for my voice this video, I'm still sick. I would like to thank my gold tier patrons for their continued support: Jonas, Scruffshroom, Sheev Palpatine, ZeroXP Podcast, The Arbiter and Lewis. As always, like, share and subscribe if you found this interesting. Enjoy your day. Bye.